Hi, my name is Faith Flores, and my project is Occupy Wall Street. In this project, we will go over the summary, the argumentative summary, the thesis, the rhetorical situation, the rhetorical stance, the design, and the effectiveness of the documentary. Occupy Wall Street is a movement that began in September of 2011. The movement was compelled to fight the socioeconomic state they believed to be caused by large corporations and banks. The movement was started by Khaled Hassan. "We are the 99% is the main slogan of Occupy Wall Street. The documentary offers various interviews, images, and relevant examples to the Occupy Wall Street movement. The author works to persuade the audience to fight against big banking corporations on Wall Street. The multimodal artifact is addressing the issue within capitalism within the American banking system. The documentary highlights the importance of the movement, calling out big companies, and demonstrates how it affects consumers. The documentary is effective in doing so by using interviews, emotional diction, and using pop culture references, making it more relevant and understandable for the audience. The documentary highlights the importance of the movement, critiques corporate practices, and demonstrates a societal effect. The documentary is effective in doing so by pathos and emotional diction, and ethos in using interviews and pop culture references, making it more relevant and understandable for the audience. Rhetorical situations. The audience is middle and low-class Americans. They are defined and referenced throughout by representing them in interviews and the monetary threat that falls onto the middle and lower classes. The author is able to evoke fear in the audience, connecting them to the bigger picture and understanding the threat to middle and lower class society. The multimodal artifact is limited to one side of the story, creating a biased approach to the situation, which can tarnish the author's reliability. The author uses the rhetorical stance to build their credibility using interviews to establish understanding with the audience. The interviews use eloquent language, boosting the interview's credibility because it makes them sound more educated on the situation, leading the audience to have more trust that the author is also educated and the information given is correct. The author uses images in gray tones of people in distress. The audience is led to have sympathy for the cause. The author is able to build an emotional connection to the audience, evoking emotion and building trust. The audience is now tied to the products of the banking system in America, further supporting the author's need to persuade the audience to join the movement. Example 1. Pathos and diction. The quote reads, "Garner attention to the problem of wealth and resource inequality that is caused by a toxic relationship between big businesses and media and our government." This was helpful for the author to include because it uses loaded language that supports the movement and goes against bigger corporations. For example, the highlighted word problem, inequality, and toxic all have negative connotations, furthering the audience's understanding. Exigence and author's purpose. Wall Street banking corporations are taking from the lower and middle classes. The author's purpose is to educate and persuade the audience to see the corruption the American banking system allows. Education is represented with background information and statistics. Persuasion is represented by the negative diction given by the interviewees. The author's motivation is to inform the audience and create an understanding on the financial dangers Wall Street poses to the working class Americans. The author's motivation is seen by the pieces of interviews the author includes in the digital media piece. Ethos/interview. We need a regime change in America. There's nothing more exciting than occupying Wall Street, the very iconic heart of global capitalism, which is Wall Street, and to start our revolution there. Khaled Hassan, Occupy founder. Not only do these words have a bandwagon effect on the audience, but it's also coming from the head of the movement, giving him a sense of leadership. He's taking control. We have need, change, exciting, iconic, capitalism, revolution. Those red words are very important in this. The author uses the rhetorical stance to build their credibility using interviews to establish understanding with the audience. The interviews use eloquent language, boosting the interview's credibility because it makes them sound more educated on the situation, leading the audience to have more trust that the author is also educated and the information given is correct. The author uses images in gray tones of people in distress. The audience is led to have sympathy for the cause. The author is able to build an emotional connection to the audience, evoking emotion and building trust. The audience is now tied to the products of the banking system, America, further supporting the author's need to persuade the audience to join the movement. Rhetorical stance. In the excerpt that I decided to choose from, the author does not offer differing viewpoints, hindering their argument and giving the audience a biased feel. The rich want to stay rich, and the middle and lower classes want the banks to stop profiting off their money. The author discusses both viewpoints in the excerpt. However, the author sides with the middle and lower class viewpoints, exposing hidden bias. I'm going to say that again. The author discusses both viewpoints in the excerpt. However, the author sides with the middle and lower class viewpoints, exposing hidden bias. This is very important to understanding the author's credibility with the audience. The author's design choices support the rhetorical situation by placing emphasis on the negative effects of Wall Street by using contrast to show the difference in how it affects the rich versus everyone else. This was especially helpful for the audience to understand the different viewpoints. Pop culture reference. The pop culture meme was used in protest and became an iconic staple for the Occupy Wall Street movement. Banks got bailed out, we got sold out. Not only can this help the audience connect by remembering this from their past because it was a very famous meme, but it also helps build a connection because it's catchy in the person's brain, and they are now able to connect to the documentary. Effectiveness. In conclusion, the argument can be strengthened by exploring rich perspective instead of glossing over their perspective. If they had a deeper dive into the history of the rich and their side of the story, it would give the author more credibility. The author's argument would be strengthened and build a stronger sense of trust with the audience. Thanks for watching.